Hi everyone, I'm excited to be a guest designer for Crafty Meraki's October release. It's YouTube Hop Day and I hope that you hop along with us to see all of the great inspiration. Oh, and I should mention there are some fabulous giveaways, and all you have to do is enjoy the videos and leave a comment. Your next stop will be linked in the description below. So let's get started with this Christmas floral card. Along with the newly released products, I'll also be working with one that was previously released, the Lily die set. I love Crafty Meraki's line of Effortless Artistry Paper collections. And Evergreen Elegance is absolutely gorgeous. Everything's colored and all you have to do is pair it with a coordinating die. Now how awesome is that? Quick and easy. But if you love to color, there's also a stamp set. I'll also be working with a new hot foil plate, Gilded Holiday Greetings. And it has a coordinating die, so you do one hot foiling, one die cut, and you end up with a myriad of holiday words. Lilies were die cut from both watercolor paper and black cardstock. For the watercolor paper die cuts, I've trimmed the stems off and I'll trim them right down after I finish coloring them with pigment powders. There are lots of different makes of pigment powders. These are Ken Oliver's and I'm working with yellow ochre and fuchsia. These powders give a bold result. I just tap the powder directly onto the die cut. You do want to be careful because you don't need a lot. If you get too much powder on, as long as it's not activated with the water, it's easily just blown off. This is a quick and easy way to add color to a project. Once the powder is in place, I come in with a fairly wet paintbrush and moisten the powder. As the pigment powders dry, they offer a lot of tonal variation. Aside from the nice bold color, which I love, the color variation really enhances natural elements like flowers and leaves. The Evergreen Elegance paper collection comes with 24 sheets and there are 4 different color variations of the same set of leaves. For my brightly colored lilies, I've chosen the set of leaves that are a darker green with some yellow undertones. You can see how easily the die lines up to it, and one pass through the die cutter and you have a whole set of foliage to work with. Using a fan brush, all of the die cuts are spattered with distress stained tarnished brass. I'll then let that dry and spatter again using Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, which has been just slightly watered down. And while everything's drying, I'll work on my background. And that's not paint on my panel, that is sparkle, and you'll see why in a minute. Double-sided tape is applied all the way around the perimeter of the panel. I'm going to cover this panel in black tulle, which is a very finely netted fabric. The netting has been covered in sparkle, and lots of it. It is gorgeous, and I just love having lots of sparkle on my holiday cards. To reduce the bulk, I'll start off by cutting off 2 corners of the tulle at a diagonal. The backing paper is removed from one of the strips of double-sided tape. The corners of the panel are laid right up against the diagonal line and the tulle folded over. Now that the fabric is nice and secure, I can go ahead and make diagonal cuts on the other 2 corners. The backing paper is removed from the other 3 strips of double-sided tape. And then the other 3 flaps of the tulle are simply laid down onto the tape. The fabric needs to be taut, and so as you can see, it's quite forgiving on this fabric, so I'm able to lift up one side and make an adjustment. And there you have it, full-on holiday sparkle. I love dimension on my cards, so I'm going to adhere this panel to some black sheet foam. I'll set it aside to dry under some weight before I trim off the excess. This is a good time to pull out the Glimmer Hot Foil system. Hot foil plate was laid down onto the platform and a sheet of gold hot foil shiny side down on top of it. And my sentiments are foiled on black cardstock. I have a touch of overfoiling, and so I like to use a microfiber cloth and just give it a good rub. The coordinating die is easily lined up to the sentiments. Low-tack tape holds the die in place so that there is no shifting as it goes through the die cutter. I love having all of these holiday words on hand for future projects. I also love that they can be configured into different sentiments. And I wanted my sentiment to have a little bit more prominence on the card, so I used the die to also cut black sheet foam. The foiled words, merry and bright, were adhered to the foam die cuts. The adhesive is dry on my background, and so now I'm going to trim off the excess foam. So the foam remains nice and smooth. I like to use large shears. As I'm cutting, I cut at an angle so that it is undercut along the panel's edge. The panel is adhered to a top folding A2 sized black card base. And after 2 of the 3 lily heads have been attached to the black die cut stems, I'm ready to pull this card together. As I attach my foliage, I'm first going to add some liquid adhesive to the base of the stem and then some low mount foam squares to the top of it. I want the center of the foliage to be quite high, so first I'm going to start with one that is part way up the panel. The rest of the foliage that will go across the bottom of the panel will be adhered in the same way, with low mount foam squares at the top of the foliage and then adhesive so that that portion will lay flat against the card. This will allow my sentiment, which is going to be adhered right along the bottom of the card front, to have a nice flat surface to be adhered to. I don't think that I mentioned that the watercolor flowers do have a little bit of hand shaping so that those petals stand up a little bit from the black die cut. The one lily that is not on a stem has been adhered directly to the panel, whereas the other 2 are adhered with liquid adhesive on the stem and then a foam square to pop up the lily. The foam back sentiments are adhered to the bottom of the card front. So that the sentiment is centered, I first adhere the word bright and then go over to the word merry and adhere it, making sure that it is the same distance from the side of the panel as the other word. I can then just pop the ampersand in between the 2. And while the adhesive is still not completely dry, I'm going to take that little piece of foliage and tuck it in behind the word bright. The berries are tucked in between 2 sets of leaves and adhered once again using the low profile foam squares. The 2 lilies with the open faces are going to be embellished in the center using little tiny black crystals. This seemingly impossible task of managing these little crystals is a whole lot easier because I'm using my Crafty Meraki jewel picker. And to finish up this card, I'm going to add a few embellishments of Crafty Meraki's Sparkle Golden Illusion crystals. Because this is a Christmas card, in my books you can't have enough sparkle. And that wraps up this card featuring some gorgeous new products by Crafty Meraki. I really enjoyed working with the Gilded Holiday Greetings and the Evergreen Elegance Effortless Artistry Paper Collection. I hope you're able to hop along with us. The next stop is listed in the description of this video. So much inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me, and as always, I appreciate your visit.